Good evening, all you horror hounds. Thanks so much for swinging by the crypt and hanging out with me this evening. So if you're here, you probably are aware that the horror genre relies on a couple key components here, namely atmosphere, tension, and shock value. And it typically can do that in spades, but the short film format is super compelling here without the need for a full-length narrative. Think about a 2-hour movie. You've got to be able to you got to have your character arcs. You got to have your backstory in there. Is the pacing just right? Is the plot too complex? All of those things that the short horror film doesn't really necessarily have to worry about. They have done studies, of course. They've tried to keep an audience at a really high level of anxiety and tension throughout a film. It does not work. Eventually, the audience starts kind of laughing at inappropriate moments because they've got to have that release. You've got to let them down and then try to ratchet the tension back up again. But for a short horror film, that's not really true. You can get in there, you can start intense, you can end pretty intense, and it ends up being a pretty compelling watch, at least for me. And I think that there are a couple reasons why. Number one, the pacing. You really don't have any time to waste. You got to get in there pretty quick and dial up that terror as much as possible. Number two, simplicity, right? It's typically just a couple characters. There might be one location or just sometimes a basic concept, one basic concept that can be done really, really well. Number three, well, let's call it creative freedom, right? The filmmakers, they don't have extensive budgets. Sometimes there's not even a lot of expectations for where these short films are going to go. And so because of that, they can sort of start to push the boundary and be a little bit more experimental than other filmmakers. And number four, the endings. Sometimes the short film really relies on that one significant moment, that really compelling bit just at the end that can be done so beautifully in the short horror film. I like to think of short horror films, they're kind of like modern day equivalent of the campfire tales, for example. They're quick, they're spooky, they're very memorable, usually because of that hook that you have at the end. Personally, I wanted to showcase some of these for you tonight. So here are 20 short horror films that I absolutely love, and I hope that you will love them too. Some of them have been around for many, many, many years, so you're probably going to be very aware of them. Don't think that that's going to diminish the results whatsoever because they are still very impactful, but hopefully I found a couple that maybe just weren't on your radar at all, but they are all terrific films. They're in no particular order or anything like that, but I have provided links to all of these in the order that I'm going to discuss them, so you can go and click on those anytime you want. They're all free. They're all on YouTube. So I would suggest turn the lights down way low. In fact, I would turn them off completely. You should be in the dark for this. Be sure you're in a sort of quiet spot in your home and then just let these wash over you. Okay, one small little caveat here. Let's say those of you with more delicate sensibilities, these are nightmare fuel. So you've been warned. At number 20 is There Are Monsters from 2008. This is directed by Dahl, and it's a 10-minute short horror film, and it does something that I absolutely love, and it will come up again on this list, and that is taking something extremely mundane and then sort of transitioning that into something more odd. There's nothing more frightening than you think you understand the world around you and coming to find subtle clues that it's not what you imagined it to be. This is set in a quiet, snowy Canadian town. The film follows Garth and Maddie. They're prepping for a dinner party, but it takes a little bit of a disturbing turn when they notice a peculiar little girl standing on their deck. Garth's trip to a local convenience store also reveals a strange encounter with a cashier, pinpointing that something is just fundamentally wrong in their community. At number 19 is The Cat with Hands from 2001, directed by Robert Morgan. This is a 4-minute British horror short that blends live action and stop-motion animation to craft a surreal and unsettling narrative that feels a little bit more like a twisted kind of fairy tale. The story concerns a mysterious cat who covets human body parts in an attempt to ultimately become human. The story is centered around an old well and unfolds through a man's recounting of the story to another guy, leading to a chilling revelation. The film's use of stop-motion animation really enhances its eerie atmosphere. Number 18 is Don't Look Away from 2017, directed by Christopher Cox. This is an 8-minute horror short, and it follows Savannah. She's a teenager who happens to notice that outside the window in her yard, there's an odd-looking guy staring up at her. And so very alarmed, she calls her father, and her father has one cryptic piece of advice: don't look away. As Savannah and her brother attempt to follow their dad's odd directive, they find themselves trapped in an encounter with this menacing entity. Not much exposition here. It leaves you kind of wanting to know a little bit more, but still totally satisfied that yes, there are dark things in this world that do not have or need much explanation. They just are. Number 17 is Knock Knock from 2018. It's directed by Kennikki Jones, and it tells the story of a woman who's very compassionate. She serves as a maternal figure in her neighborhood, particularly to the children living next door. And when she suspects that the children's mother might pose a danger to them, she initially kind of hesitates to intervene, but then just consumed with guilt and fear that something might have happened to the children, she decides to go and investigate with chilling consequences. Produces a thesis film at Florida State University. It's a really nice little movie, and just to boot, fantastic acting. Hey there everybody, sorry to interrupt my own video, but I just wanted to let people know that I have published a coloring book. It's called Dr. Cornelius Vile's Disturbing Coloring Book for Adults. I put the link down below, and you could also just go to Amazon and look up Dr. Cornelius Vile, and yes, it will pop up. But I just wanted people to know that it's out there. It's a little bit more than just a coloring book. It's kind of a photo album, I guess, of one family's sort of very twisted and deranged lineage. So I don't do any affiliate links on here. I don't have a Patreon page, and there's no merchandise or anything. So if you were looking for a way to maybe help support this channel, that would be an excellent way to do it. Okay, so back to the video. At number 16 is Vicious from 2015. It's directed by Oliver Park. It's a 12-minute psychological horror story that delves into the themes of grief and guilt. The narrative follows a woman grappling with a recent death who returns home one night to find her front door unlocked, and she begins to suspect she might not be alone in the house. As she navigates through this eerie silence, the film builds a hell of a lot of tension out of that situation, leading to a pretty chilling climax. Number 15, Bedtime Story, or El Cuento. It's less than 10 minutes, a Spanish horror short film directed by Lucas Paulino and Angel Torres. The story is set in an apartment where two young brothers are finishing dinner and they're prepping for bed. As the older brother lies on the top bunk, the mother comes in. She's going to tell a bedtime story to his younger brother just down below. And as he's listening to this story, a very odd trend begins to happen. And he sort of starts to get the feeling that the storyteller down below might not be their mother. Number 14, Playtime from 2013. This is directed by Ryan Thompson. It's a 3-minute horror short that won first place in the Bloody Cuts Who's There film challenge. This film, it just follows a woman. She wakes up in the middle of the night. Her television is turned on by itself, displaying unsettling black and white static imagery. As she attempts to turn it off, the TV repeatedly powers back on, leading to a tense and eerie experience. This one focuses all on atmosphere and tension, and it also has some pretty nice visuals as well. Number 13 is unedited footage of a bear. It's actually created by Alan Resnick and Ben O'Brien. It was produced by Adult Swim as part of their infomercial series. It begins with a straightforward nature documentary featuring a bear, only to abruptly transition into a disturbing infomercial for a fictional drug. It's equal parts allergy medication commercial parody and outright surreal horror. The protagonist claims the medication has improved her life, but as the commercial unfolds, it taps into the side effects of addiction, identity, and a psychotic break with reality. Number 12 was directed by Henrietta and Jessica Ashworth, and the short film is Night Bus from 2020. It's a supernatural horror story. It follows Natasha. She's played by Susan Wokoma, a bus driver working the night shift on her birthday. As the night progresses, Natasha begins to experience a mysterious and unsettling presence on the bus, leading to a chilling and atmospheric experience. This film has a couple touches of humor and very effective use of suspense without the need for a lot of jump scares. And frankly, hey, it's just nice to see a main character fight back against overwhelming supernatural events. Number 11 is Storytime from 2024. This is directed by Dylan Clark. It's a 7-minute horror short that beautifully blurs the lines between fiction and reality. The narrative follows a young woman who becomes entangled in a chilling podcast narrative that starts to bleed into her real life in unexpected ways. Let's just say it becomes a disturbing and immersive experience. Really nice atmosphere in this short, great sound design, and the unsettling journey it takes the audience on. Few people will actually remember the TV series Night Gallery, brought to you by Rod Serling, and even fewer would remember my favorite episode from Night Gallery. It was called Silent Snow, Secret Snow. It was narrated by Orson Welles, who does a wonderful job of actually becoming a part of the story, inserting himself as the voice of the snow inside this young boy's head. The same thing happens here, with the narrator's interpretation of the plot and the dialogue beginning to mimic the horror of what's happening, and to great effect. Number 10 is Instawolf from 2016, directed by Alex J. Mann. This is a short, and I do mean short, it's under 2 minutes long. It parodies the selfie culture and also our obsession with social media. It's all about a woman who she's trying to take a selfie, and it becomes unexpectedly photobombed by a mysterious wolf-like figure. The eerie presence becomes more intrusive, but this short is also just hysterical. Every time I see this one, I just completely crack up at the absurdity of it, and I thought right here, in sort of the middle of the list, is a perfect place to include it. If you've been watching me and then clicking on the links to go to the short films, then you'll see why this one is here. It's the palate cleanser between the meals. It's not meant to be taken seriously, so please go into this short knowing it's supposed to be fun. Let's say a howling good time. Number 9 is Jane from 2021. This is directed by Noel Vinson. It's a psychological horror short about the unsettling dynamics between a patient with dementia and his live-in home caregiver. The film blurs the lines between reality and delusion, creating a tense and eerie atmosphere because, frankly, you are not sure at any given time where this short film is going. For fans of John Carpenter's original Halloween, please take note of the song that Jane is singing as she just goes about her daily home healthcare routine. It happens to be the exact same one that Jamie Lee Curtis just made up on the set back in 1978, and it's actually extremely apropos in this short film as well. You might not realize how much so until the end of the short, but yeah, you're just going to have to trust me. Now, I know when I started this video, I said that these weren't in any kind of specific order, but I've just got to add here. The last 7 or 8, I think they might be my favorites among the favorites. Number 8 from 2008 is The Black Hole. This is directed by Phil Sampson and Ollie Williams. It is a cool and thought-provoking film. If all of the horror so far has your nerves totally fried and on edge, then know that this one is more of sort of a fantasy approach about acquiring an odd ability and how that leads to temptation and greed. This film follows Charlie. He's just a tired office worker. He happens to be doing a late shift when he discovers that a mysterious black circle printed from a malfunctioning photocopier proves to be a portal capable of passing through solid objects. As Charlie experiments with this newfound window into the unknown, he begins to see opportunities for personal gain. You've got a minimal setting, great visual storytelling, and it builds a lot of tension. If this short film wanted a sponsor, I think it could do worse than Acme Inc. from Looney Tunes. And if you have no clue what I'm talking about here, please go watch this short and then go and watch as many Roadrunner cartoons as humanly possible, and I think you'll get it. Number 7 is Man on a Train from 2018. This is directed by Shanks, and it delves into the unsettling experience of a woman just trying to take the commuter train home after a long day. She finds herself alone in a train carriage, only to notice this odd-looking guy seated at the far end, observing her, his intense stare, his movements, everything about him is somewhat odd, but he doesn't seem necessarily threatening at first. The film builds tension through its minimal location, it's just the train car, relying on atmosphere and the anxiety of encountering someone or something that turns your expectations of how things work off its axis. This is one where not a lot happens, but what does happen, as in the concept, yeah, that's enough alone to give you the willies. Number 6 is Your Date Is Here from 2018, directed by Todd, Spence, and Zach White. It's a tightly woven little horror short that skillfully blends nostalgia and suspense. The film is really just centering on a mother and daughter. They're just killing time waiting for their pizza delivery, and so they decide to break out a board game. And the board game is very reminiscent of the classic 1960s game Mystery Date. But as they engage with this variation, its seemingly innocent mechanics begin to reveal a much more sinister undertone. Wonderful, effective buildup of tension in this one, and a nice payoff as well. Number 5 from 2013 is 2 a.m., directed by Michael Evans. This is a short horror film inspired by a popular creepypasta story originally posted on Reddit by user Blue Title. The film just follows a man walking home alone at night when suddenly in the distance he encounters a man who's moving a little strange. He's got unnerving, exaggerated movements and a very intense smile. And as the man approaches, our protagonist, he grows pretty uneasy here, leading to a tense experience. This film effectively utilizes the eerie atmosphere of empty streets, the isolation of being out in the middle of the night, all alone, and the unsettling behavior of some random person acting very odd. Number 4 is The Smiling Man from 2018, directed by A.J. Briones. This is a chilling short horror film that unfolds without dialogue, so you have to be completely reliant on visual storytelling, and the sense of dread in this one, it is palpable. You are going to experience anxiety levels being dialed up moment by moment. The narrative follows a young girl who's home alone and encounters a sinister presence. That's all I'm going to say about this one. You have terrific cinematography, some truly unsettling imagery, and nail-biting tension. This short has won a lot of awards, and rightfully so. Number 3 is Alone Time from 2013, directed by Rod Blackhurst. This story follows a young woman. Frankly, she's just burned out. She's overworked in her job, and she decides she's going to take on a solo camping trip in the Adirondack Mountains. What's brilliant here is you can't say the peaceful retreat takes an unsettling turn. It doesn't. This film masterfully subverts your expectations. It builds tension through its atmospheric storytelling and the subtle visual cues. The theme of seeking solitude and then the unforeseen dangers that can accompany isolation, that leaves the viewers with a lingering sense of unease. But it's not until its final moments that this one really shakes you. Beautifully filmed, and the inherent quiet of this film, it just kind of makes you feel like, yeah, everything's going to be okay until it just drops the floor out from under you in the conclusion. At number 2 from 2020 is The Other Side of the Box, directed by Caleb J. Phillips. It's about a 15-minute horror short. Here it just centers on a couple named Ben and Rachel. They receive an unexpected visitor who shows up with a Christmas gift and a very cryptic note attached that basically tells them, don't take your eyes off of it. The film builds tension through suspense and psychological unease. There are no jump scares. Instead, it's all predicated on eerie atmosphere and a very scary concept. No blood, no gore, no elaborate special effects. There's no sort of like intense prosthetics that are being attempted. Nothing like that at all. Just a growing sense of dread. These filmmakers definitely know how to dial up the terror. And some of you are probably going to think, no blood, no gore, no jump scares, no practical sort of effects or digital effects. So how unnerving can this film be? Ha! At number 1 is The French Doors from 2011. This is directed by Stephen Ayson. It's one of my favorites. This is a short horror film from New Zealand. It builds a slow, creeping sense of dread by just following a man who's installing a set of secondhand French doors in his home that he's renovating, only to find that unsettling things begin to happen afterward. Has a very minimalist style here, eerie atmosphere, effective use of suspense over jump scares. It's a great example of how horror can be built through mood and suggestion rather than overt shocks. And frankly, it follows the pacing of what I think makes an amazing short horror film, which I mentioned back when I started this list. The idea that suddenly the world doesn't spin quite the way that you think it does, I find that certainly very unnerving. And the filmmakers do a wonderful job of pulling those strings and creating that anxiety just in a beautiful way. I did not include some short films that absolutely would probably be on people's like top 10 list or something, like Lights Out, Mama Monster, which is Jennifer Kent's short film that she ultimately translated into The Babadook, that film. I left those out just because they had already made that transition to become feature films. So instead, I just wanted to focus on these 20 short horror films. So how did I do? If you've seen any of these, do you agree with the ones on this list? And please, down in the comments, let me know if there's some that I left off that I'm not aware of. I'm always interested in reading your comments and then going to check out some of your suggestions as well. So, okay, everybody, that will do it for now. I had a lot of fun making this particular video because I don't think that the short horror film format really gets sort of the love and attention that it rightfully deserves. So, until next time, everyone, stay curious and stay scared.